here with Couples Counseling ATL, joined with several of our amazing couples therapists, Liz Clements, David Blanchard, Bridget Hinton, and Camila Quintero, our wonderful intake coordinator. And we are talking about Drama Free today by Dr. Nedra Tawab, an amazing book. I'm a complete fangirl. Liz, you want to show them the cover? You've got to talk for it to capture you.
Here you go.
There. That's the book. Yes, I did the Audible, so I don't have the real copy, but we're excited to talk about it today. We'll cover just a brief synopsis, and then we'll mainly just chat and nerd out and talk about what we really liked, if there's anything that we didn't like, what we think would be helpful for therapists, but also for just people in general. So Drama Free, what's it about? Well, we really saw a lot of very practical advice from Dr. Nedra about a lot of different topics, but especially around dysfunctional patterns in families, especially related to healing from the past, growing into the type of human being that you want to be, and not just recreating the patterns that you were, unfortunately surrounded by or witnessed or part of when you were growing up. So I thought it was a very empowering book, helping in very practical kind of examples of what dysfunction looks like, what functioning looks like, how to break free from some of those dysfunctional patterns. So sibling relationships, parent relationships, relationships with adult children, relationships with extended family. But I think it also applies to not just family, but friendships, romantic partners, etc. So I think it was, again, a very practical quest to define dysfunction and then to talk about how to break free from it. What do you guys think? What were your initial reactions to the book?
I really enjoyed it. It was a really fast read. It was very digestible, and I think it applied to, so much came up for me when I was reading it, just in terms of all of our clients, but then also just personal relationships. It was so relatable. I guess there are maybe a few things to think about in terms of criticisms, but for the most part, I just got a lot out of it, and I think I'll be going back to it probably on several occasions. I'll probably have reason to go back to it and revisit it.
Thank you, Bridge. And I would love for you to give very personal examples of how you can relate.
I think we can,
but I would love
in most families. I'm sure we could all share stories.
I know. Yeah, all therapists can definitely relate.
But on that note, I will say I like that she clarified. There was one section where she talked about, like, how do you know if your family is just, all families have problems, but how do you know when it crosses that boundary into dysfunction? And I think she talked about how it's a matter of how families how do they address the problems, right? So do we ignore them? Do we try to just brush them aside, or do we address them, right? All families have issues, but that really is the sign. Is it dysfunctional? Is it just typical? It's a matter of how do we handle the issues as they come up. I really like that.
I would just add that I think it is relevant to so many couples that I've worked with. In fact, when we began the book, I was thinking of a specific couple that this is their primary, their main core issue that they came to therapy to, and it did feel accessible and easy. So she presents it, and I think in a very friendly way that doesn't feel overwhelming. And it's practical at the same time. So it's something that I think is a good one to refer out to folks to read through. And that was my thought as I read. Maybe this is something I'll pass along to the couple as a resource. And and then the last thing is, because both of them as husband and wife were trying to struggle together with a whole different view as to whether it's dysfunctional and how you respond to it. And so this at least creates a starting place to define, and then offers suggestions about how to respond so they can get on the same page, which is vital.
Yeah.
Yeah, all the categories that you went over, Stephanie. The other two that I found really helpful was the blended families and dealing with in-laws, and especially the in-laws. That is one of the most common issues I see, especially with couples. And because it's an opportunity for this new person in the family. They can point out the dysfunction in the family they're marrying into, and so it just opens a whole nother can of worms. Which is this like, hey, this behavior, you're used to that and you accept it. That's not what I'm used to. And then how to set those boundaries and still be a united front. So I really, really liked that and appreciated how she approached that topic. And another thing that I love that she did is kind of called, I guess, the reader out of, when we come from dysfunction, a lot of times we stay in it in terms of we're a victim. And we make excuses to, well, I didn't learn that, or I don't know how to do that. No one showed me how to do that. And we lean heavily on that. And I liked how she calls out the reader, but also empowers the reader of, you can learn that. And it's taking that initiative. And there's other people you can lean on and other resources you can use to learn how to be however it is you need to be. So I really liked that as well.
But at the same time, she approached it with compassion. She said, we are influenced by our surroundings. Like, never forget that of course you are influenced by your environment. But also it was very empowering. Like, we can absolutely learn and grow.